You're listening to the Oklahoma On Stage podcast. We're glad you've joined us. We can be found on most platforms, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you have any comments or questions, we'd love to hear them. So drop us an email at oklahomaonstage@gmail.com or use the comment form on our website, which is oklahomaonstage.org. If you like the podcast, please share it with someone. And now, sit back and enjoy another great episode.
Welcome back, everybody, to Oklahoma On Stage. We're back, Season 2. We are once again doing our Theater Educators series. Today, we're spotlighting a program that has quietly and consistently built something remarkable in the world of school theater. Percival's Players, the theater troupe of Crossings Christian School, is celebrating 15 years of storytelling, growth, and community. And our guest today is at the heart of that journey. She joined the program in its very first year as a choreographer, helping launch the school's first ever musical. Since stepping into the director role in 2015, she has expanded the department into a vibrant multi-show season that now includes full-length musicals and plays for upper school students, junior productions for middle schoolers, and in recent years, competitive one-act through the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association. She leads with a philosophy rooted in hard work, mutual support, and the belief that theater teaches life skills far beyond the stage. Whether her students pursue the arts professionally or not, she's committed to helping them grow as both performers and as people. I'm thrilled to have her with us today to talk about her journey, the evolution of Percival's Players, and the heart behind the work that she does. Oklahoma On Stage family, please join me in welcoming Angela Lux to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Tim.
It is my pleasure, trust me. So, hey, we always jump right into the elephant in the room and just ask the big question. How did you get started in theater?
Pretty much by accident. I was living in Boston, Massachusetts, 16 years ago. And I felt a pull to move back to Oklahoma and teach at a Christian school, which I was pretty sure was not coming from myself because I had sworn never to move back to Oklahoma or teach at a Christian school. But I moved back mid-year, got hired on at Crossings Christian School as a social studies teacher, and wound up loving it. I loved the job, I loved the kids, I loved the school, and I really believed in the mission that the school was launching out on. And I got into the school at a really good time. They were growing exponentially beyond expectation and opening up new grades every year. And my second full year at Crossings, they had a brand new vocal teacher who saw me walking down the hallway one day and said, "Hey, you look like a dancer. Do you dance?" And I said, "Well, I used to in a former life." And she said, "We are getting ready to do our first ever musical, and I need a choreographer. Would you be willing to be a choreographer?" And one of the questions they ask you when you're interviewing is, are you willing to take on extracurricular activities? And I was not currently doing an extracurricular activity. So I thought, well, what's the worst that could happen? And so I logged on.
Probably one of the worst questions to ask in theater.
Oh, yeah, I know that now. But I jumped right in and wound up discovering a gift that I didn't know I had, which was interacting with the students, creating choreography, which I didn't know I was capable of. When you are used to learning choreography, you don't think in terms of making choreography. And so that experience helped me grow. And I loved the different dynamic that existed with the students outside of the classroom, after school, in the rehearsal room. You have different types of conversations. You have different kinds of dynamics that come up. You get to see a different version of the student in a drama rehearsal than you do in a social studies classroom. And so after Annie, I was hooked. I went on to help co-direct our second show, which was Beauty and the Beast Junior. And then the fourth year of the program was given an option of, hey, do you want to keep doing social studies? Do you want to teach English, which is what my background is? That's what my degree is in, is English literature. Or do you want to take over the theater department? And I wound up having a conversation with our vocal teacher, whose name was Pam Sullivan, who was no longer at Crossings at the time. But I was talking with her, and I was like, I really don't know which direction to go. I could do social studies. I love teaching social studies. I love doing that classroom environment, but I also love the discipleship and mentoring aspects that come with theater. It's a different dynamic. And she looked at me and she said, Angela, she's like, I can't tell you what to do, but I would encourage you to go into theater, because she said, someone has to carve a path. Someone has to lay the groundwork for what these kids can do, not what they're doing right now, but someone needs to cast a vision for what could be. And she's like, I know that you love these kids. I know that you love theater. I know that you're passionate about what theater can do in terms of not just education, but kingdom education. I teach at a Christian school, right? So where do you think you could take this if you stepped into that role? And it was possibly the scariest choice I've ever made, because stepping into a role that I don't have an academic degree. Well, I didn't have an academic degree. I just completed a master's in theater education a year ago. But stepping into something that I don't necessarily have a professional background in was daunting. But I did have a vision for where the school could go, for where the program could go. And the year after I took over, we launched into our first full-length musical. I launched our first full-length play. Our first musical was The Sound of Music, which is everybody's favorite. Everybody loves The Sound of Music because it's an iconic classic show. And then for our first ever play, I took us in a slightly different track, and we did the Seussification of Romeo and Juliet, which is Romeo and Juliet if it had been written by Dr. Seuss. So it's very different take on a story that everyone knows. And those two things really launched us forward. And I had this incredible group of kids who I refer to as the first generation of CCS theater, who dove in with me. And we had so many challenges because we didn't have a stage at the time. Our first ever show was in the lower school gymnasium. The church across the parking lot was really generous and allowed us to use their stage for the venue to perform our junior shows. And then we started doing full-length shows, and they continued to allow us to use their stage, which is an incredible gift. You don't get that all the time. And I had these students and these parents that were like, you know what? We don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing, but we're going to go with you, and we're all going to figure it out together. And it just became this incredible family and community of mutual expectation that we are going to make mistakes. We're going to mess up. We're going to learn in real time what it takes to do a show, what it takes to do a show well. We're going to mess up. We're going to have hard conversations. We're going to have to love each other through really stressful, difficult times. And we're going to together build something that is far greater than what any one of us could accomplish on our own. And now 15 years later, I look back on 30 something shows that each subsequent generation of students has built. And what I tell our students now when they're starting the programs is I like to say, you know what? Their ceiling for that first generation of students who performed on the gymnasium floor is your floor. They created a program that we now get to continue to build and to sustain and to create a legacy every single year. As our seniors leave, they impart something to the next group, the next generation, that they can then put into their toolbox of skills. They can grow, they can lead, they can be confident to not be perfect. They can be confident to make mistakes and to grow from them and to learn from them, because that's really the heart of education, is not trying to be perfect, which is impossible, but taking where you start and growing from that point and leaving a better person, a deeper follower of Christ, a more responsible member of society, a harder worker, a more compassionate, empathetic human being. All of these things are part of being a theater student, whether you continue doing theater in college or not. I went on a rant there.
Hey, that was awesome. That was storytelling, folks, right there. So you said that you were, would you say in Chicago? Is that where you
Boston.
were? Boston.
Oh, north of
So
Boston.
you were in Boston, but you were originally from Oklahoma.
Yes, I grew up in Yukon, Oklahoma for the most part. My family moved to Edmond when we were in about, I think it was 8th grade, and I fought it tooth and nail. I did not want to leave Yukon. I loved Yukon. And I went to I went to OCS, graduated from OCS in the year 2000, and I had wanderlust. I wanted to go as far away from Oklahoma as I could while still being within the safety of the continental United States. And I found a school in Wynnum, Massachusetts called Gordon College, and applied, was accepted. I visited the campus and fell in love from day one and moved out there. Fell in love with Boston, with the scrappiness, with the enthusiasm, with the passion that exists in the people and the environment of Boston. I fell in love with the history and the deep, deep respect that Boston has for who we are as a country and who and what we stand for. And yeah, I spent, I think 6 years total living in Boston, bounced back to Oklahoma in between there because, we had a couple little economic problems here and there in the past 20 years, but it's been part of building the story. And I think what's interesting, looking back, at no point has my 5-year plan ever turned out. And going to Boston, I thought that I would be living in Boston for forever, and that didn't happen. I wound up back in Oklahoma. Once I got back to Oklahoma, I thought I'd be in Oklahoma forever. Another opportunity presented itself, and I actually applied to seminary in Boston, went to seminary for a semester, and discovered that it was not the right fit for me, and spent another year and a half in Boston trying to figure out what's next and asking God, what do you have for me? And wound up back in Oklahoma. So it's been kind of funny ping-ponging back and forth, but without coming back to Oklahoma the first time and reconnecting with people here, reconnecting with some roots, and then going back to Boston and discovering that the plan that I kind of marked out for myself wasn't quite right, but learning to listen to those kind of inner nudges of a direction to go, and then being obedient to that inner nudge, and then walking back and hopping into a location and a place in a school that I never expected to be in because it didn't exist when I left Oklahoma. It's kind of interesting that my story, while I have never at any point known what the next chapter or the next page or the next moment would bring, has wound up being the most incredible blessing in my life, because Crossings, being here and working here, has given me the opportunity to be part of something remarkable and to be part of building something remarkable in something that I really deeply, deeply believe in. And being part of a school that has grown beyond expectations has been fun and exciting as well, watching as new buildings literally spring to life outside the window.
Yeah, this
And
place is. I remember years ago when Crossings first started being a church.
mhm.
Then the news that they were starting a school. Okay, you'll be one of 200 Christian schools here in the state. Okay, and then seeing over time, as you were saying, another building pop up, another building, and the growth that is, and now they have arguably to say a college level football field right outside here,
Yeah.
a theater that I just looked at that is literally far surpasses almost every high school I've been at. It definitely far surpasses most community theaters I've been a part of, and I would say rivals a lot of college theaters.
It's crazy. I tell the kids all the time, I'm like, you don't understand. This doesn't happen. Like, this is not normal. What we've been entrusted with is an incredible, incredible gift. And it is incredibly important that we steward it well,
Yes.
because when you're given something remarkable, you need to use it really well. You need to invest the time that you spend in it well. You need to take care of it and pick up the trash on the floor and put the clothes back on the hanger, and
right.
all of the little nitty-gritty details that come with maintaining and stewarding a space well.
Okay.
And it's fun to watch the kids learn how to use the space that they're in. And it's also fun to watch them realize what we've been gifted with,
For sure.
and learn how to be confident in what they do here and how they use their time here.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch the gifts unlock as you say, you know what, I know that this is not particularly fun for you. There's an old Seinfeld joke that it's more people would prefer to to be in the coffin than to give a eulogy. And based on how a lot of kids respond when you ask them to speak in front of people, I think he's not that far off. But encouraging kids who don't know that they have a gift or have an ability to be on stage, and watching them gain confidence in, even if you never love being in front of an audience, at least becoming comfortable faking it in front of an audience so that you can function and be confident. Every single kid that walks through the classroom door at some point is going to have to go to a job interview or speak in public, and learning how to control those nerves. I tell the kids all the time, I'm like, nerves are your best friend or your worst enemy. It depends on how you use them.
Very good. That's very true.
So figuring out what to do with the butterflies in your stomach or the clammy hands or the nervous knees, that's part of learning how to react and act under pressure when you don't know what the outcome will be and when you're in a vulnerable position.
It's amazing that we talked a little bit about this beforehand, but how those attributes transfer over to so many other areas of life. Even those individuals that don't have anything to do with theater, when they move on, going into the professional world, giving a presentation to a board of presidents.
Absolutely.
You're going to face the same pressure of, getting in front of them, not knowing the outcome, putting your best self out there. It's a performance.
It's a performance. It's soft skills. It's learning how to read your audience, which actors who perform on stage learn how to read the house. What is the house responding to? Learn how to give the house more of what they're responding to, which is going to be completely different than the house at the next show.
Absolutely.
because one house loves really highbrow, witty humor, and another house really likes the slapstick. And you need to give the audience what they're going to respond to
Right.
while still being authentic and real to who the character that you're playing is.
Awesome. That is so. Now, y- did you always have the goal to be a teacher?
I have wanted to be a teacher since I read Little Men. I had deeply, deeply loved Joe March, Anne Shirley, and Laura Ingalls Wilder growing up. And the thing that all three of them had in common was they were a teacher. And I loved the concept or the idea of being able to impact people and make a difference. And I was deeply impacted by my high school senior, particularly my senior year theater teacher and several of my English teachers in high school. And they were incredibly formative with how I wanted to treat people. You know, you all have those one or two teachers that make that enormous impact and help you see the potential in yourself that you wouldn't see otherwise. We also all have that one or two teachers that we think about and kind of internally shudder. And those are wonderful guidelines for this is how we should not treat people and not make them feel this way. And I think having both of those examples gives you an idea of this is who I want to be. What do I need to do in order to gear the influence to get the result that says here's the value that I see in you as a human being. One of the things I like to do after rehearsal every once in a while is I say I'm going to pick on some people now. And what I'll do is I'll pick one or two of my kids. I try to start with my seniors so I get all my seniors in. And I'll talk about the qualities of who they are as people. Not are you smart, are you pretty, but I see a deep level of loyalty in you. You're an incredible friend. You love people really, really well. You're a fighter for the little guy. You always stand up for the people that you see being mistreated. Man, you have a servant's heart. You are always sticking around to help make sure that you're there picking up chairs and cleaning up after everyone else has left. You're the kind of person that looks for the things that can help other people, because you never know what kids are hearing. And most of the time what they're hearing, whether it's from social media, man, social media just rips kids' dignity to shreds.
Absolutely.
Or what they're hearing from detractors in their social circle, or what that own art, and we all have them as artists. We all have that little internal voice that is pointing out all of the flaws and all of the areas that we are insignificant, inept, and incapable. And you need those other voices saying, hey, I see this in you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something amazing about calling out what you see in people in a positive way that allows them to see it in themselves, and then maybe also empowers them to believe it and to act in it more. And a lot of what the world offers us today is the flaws and the imperfections and the problems. And when that's all we focus on, that becomes our defining characteristic, because that's what we choose to believe and that's how we operate. Versus, man, you know what? You are an incredible leader. You lead really well. You don't lead by ordering other people. You lead by example. And that's something that we really need in our world today, is people that lead with humility and compassion, and dare I say, lead the way Jesus led. That can change the way that we understand ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we as teachers can be those voices that speak in to these kids that are in this place, high school is ludicrously formative in how we see ourselves and what we believe we're capable of, and where we're going to take that into the rest of our lives as a launching pad. And so if we can help the kids see those things in themselves, that's something they take with them for the rest of their lives. And I have memories from things that teachers said years ago. my high school English teacher told me that I was good at writing. I was a freshman who I am pretty sure was not extremely good at writing, but her telling me that I had a good imagination and I was good at putting word to paper made me believe that about myself and encouraged me for every single paper that I was going to write as an English major, which is copious quantities of papers. And we never know what it is that we'll say that will unlock things. I have conversations with students sometimes where they mention something, there are conversations that I think are incredibly deep and incredibly moving, and the kids have no idea they've even happened. But the thing that I said offhand in the middle of rehearsal, they remember and they take with them.
Mm.
And in the Bible, there's a verse that says life and death is in the tongue. And as actors, I really think there are a few things that are truer from a stage perspective, that what you say has instant ramifications and long-term ramifications.
And a lot of that goes back to those conversations that we have about the power of communication.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
again, theater can extend into all of our communication realms. How we, what the old say, it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it.
Yep.
And having those opportunities on stage, learning different ways to put inflection in what you say and to deliver things with certain emotions and all of that, it's impressive. So talking about the theater here, Percival's Players. Now, you had no idea anything about it when you came here. Were you part of the picking of the name, or?
So the picking of the name, before I took over the drama department, there are two previous drama teachers, and one of whom was just, her name's Carolyn Behrens. She was a teacher at Hefner Middle School for decades. Phenomenal teacher. She played an incredible foundation. And then kind of in between Carolyn and myself, our current English teacher, Ms. Jonte. She does AP Lang. She's ludicrously smart woman. She was doing one drama class, and they went to one act and they were trying to come up with a name because things need names. Names have meaning. Names are important.
Sure.
And so they chose to name our school. Our mascot is the Knights, and our specific mascot is Sir Percival. And Sir Percival from King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table. Sir Percival is known for his purity, his endurance, his determination, and he actually is the only knight that drank from the Grail. Fun fact. And so when it came to picking a name for the theater department, Percival's Players was alliterative, which was really fun. And it also was a great way of us aligning with the school while also having a really fun name.
There you go. All right. Yeah. So in that time, taking over the program, like you said, it was, wasn't much when you took it over. In what ways has this program grown since your time? What was it, since 2015?
Whew, it's a little crazy. All right, how to verbalize. I'm really, really lucky in that I have an administration and a board that highly value the arts. So when it came time, we had an upper school building, we had a middle school building, we had an elementary building, a lower school. And they were talking about, what do we need to build next? And one of the things they said was, let's build a performing arts center so that we can have our shows and so that we can have band concerts and orchestra concerts and vocals concerts and be able to have a space that is tailor-made for what we want to do here. We can have chapel in there, and we can, originally the idea was graduation as well, but we outgrew it after the very first one that we had in here. So
wow.
They said, well, what do we need in order to have a performing arts center that is really geared towards excellence? Crossings has a very high value in excellence. And so they called my head of my department, Michael Brown, into a meeting with, it was Michael and me and our head of development and the then head of school and a couple other people that I don't really remember who it was. And they basically said, give us a list. What would you need in order to make this work really well? And so at that point, I'd visited a couple other schools to say, what do they have? What works? And ask teachers, what would you do differently? What, if you had to do it over again, what drives you nuts about your space? And they basically let me say, we need a set shop where we can build our sets. And I really would like a loading dock that goes directly to the road and a loading dock that rolls directly onto the stage to make things really easy to move from location to location. I really want electrical outlets that are elevated and not on the ground. Little things. And they said, put them in an order, and all of the things that we can get on this list, we'll try and get as many of these things for you as we can. So we really had the opportunity. Michael was looking at it very much from a music perspective and from a sound spread perspective, which I do not have on any level, and said, make a list, tell us what you want, and we will get as many of those things as possible into this new building. So the very fact that they looked at us and said, we want to give you a facility is nuts, is absolutely incredible. And then after that, it was, okay, Angela, you're teaching, now that we're moving into drama full time, what do you need in order to prepare your students so that you can establish excellence in what you're doing? So originally drama was a block class, and I felt like more time would be needed than 9 weeks with students that just cycled through. So they expanded 7th and 8th grade drama. So now it's a year-long class, and we're able to focus more on a lot of different skill sets in middle school. And they helped create a class called theater production, where we have students that build our sets. And so they're learning how to use tools and how to design things and how to do the math, because it's been like 20 years since I've done algebra and it gets really rusty and geometry is tough. So our math teachers come down and help me figure things out when I'm stumped. I'm like, I need help, Panicky. Can you please, can you tell me how to get this angle, because I can't figure it out. And it's little things like the math teacher coming down and helping figure out angles. It's an administration saying, what else do you need? Do you need better equipment? Do you have what you need in terms of the soundboard? How can we make this better? How can we help facilitate this? And I don't ever want to take for granted how incredible it is that I have that administration in place that says, okay, do we need this? How can we help make this happen for you? And the head of our department, Michael Brown, he's incredibly supportive. I go to him with all kinds of harebrained ideas, because I get lots of ideas, because we're theater people, and if we don't have ideas, we shrivel up into raisins. And Michael is really amazing at saying, okay, you have this idea. What do you need in order to make this idea happen? And he'll help me come up with step-by-steps, because I'm great at ideas. I'm not as good at the step-by-steps. And so he'll help me figure out the step-by-steps. Is this reasonable? Is it achievable? Is it logical? Is it something that we can do with the facilities, with the means, with the students that we have right now? And having sounding boards that you can go to and that you can bounce lots of ideas off of is very helpful in figuring out the trajectory of growing a program. So it starts with having the ideas and having the dreams and saying, I want to do middle school musicals. I want to do middle school plays, and then having the support to say, okay, that's a great idea. What do we need to do to make it happen? And we have, man, I can't even tell you how thankful I am for our team that we have a vocal director who is willing to say, oh, what do we need to do in order to make this sound the way we want to sound? I can go to her and say, something's off. And I don't know what's off, but something's off. And she will come and listen and she'll say, oh, this is how we fix it. And then she'll help take care of it. I have our orchestra teacher who is absolutely amazing at, man, she will come in and she will look at things. I'm not a detail person. I'm a big picture person. And she'll come in and she'll look at things and she'll say, this, and this need to be different in order to be better. And then she'll fix it. And she can just make it, she'll get it up to the level of excellence from the level of good that I can get it to. And, well, she's also, I'm getting my tier wrong. She's the head of the department. Michael's the dean of fine arts. I'm getting my titles all confused. But having those people who are willing to come in during the 5-minute passing period to look at something and say, yes, this makes sense. Or, Angela, that makes no sense. You need to try something different. That's invaluable, because when you have more eyes looking at something that see things you don't, it helps build.
Yeah.
And then having parents, man, I have the most amazing parents in my program, because I have these parents who text me regularly saying, what do you need? Saying, hey, we have this, and this going on. Is this going to work with the schedule over here? What else do we need? Honestly, bringing me cups of coffee during tech week when I'm on fumes and not even asking, just showing up with a coffee in hand is life, right?
Yeah.
And having the parents that can tell when I'm tired and frustrated and feeling down, saying, hey, this is going to be awesome. You're doing a great job. We love you. We think you're amazing. We support you. Having those voices in our lives as professionals makes all the difference in the world, because you can't do this theater thing alone. It's literally fundamentally impossible. Even in a one-man show, you have a million people making sure that you are taking care of them.
That's one person on stage. That doesn't count everything else.
Yeah, it doesn't count all the people making the magic happen.
Absolutely.
And so theater is by its very nature collaborative. And then, of course, launching into new things and having the support there, saying, when you try things and you don't do as well as you would like to do the first time out the gate, not raking you over the coals and saying you're a failure because you didn't make it to state your first time trying to go to one act, right? We can say that to ourselves, but you don't hear that from those other voices. You hear them saying, okay, so what do we need to do next time to improve? And having that mindset is a growth mindset of, okay, our first run of sound through this brand new building hit some bumps. What do we need to do differently next time? It's that growth mindset, not of, we didn't hit the ball out of the park the first time, so we're not going to try and hit again. It's, what do we need to do? What systems do we need to put in place? Do we need to bring more people in? Like, it's all of these questions that encourage risk taking.
Absolutely.
Instead of discouraging risk taking because something might not be as good as you want it to be.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Now, one thing that we talked a lot about, your journey into teaching and all that stuff and what you've been doing. One thing we didn't talk about was that you're actually quite good on the stage as well.
Thank you.
I've had the opportunity to be on stage with Angela. I've seen her in other things as well. And like I said, so the question then becomes is, how do you compare being on the stage, but then also bringing the magic out of people that are on stage? So the director side versus the actor side.
Boy, that's a whole kaleidoscope switch. So one of the things that I love about being on stage, when you're a theater educator and you're spending time working with students and trying to build a vision and trying to create something, it's really easy, even when you love it. Even when you love it, even when you love the kids, even when you love the process, it's easy to become overwhelmed and discouraged and burned out, because it does feel like pushing a train uphill. And so the great thing about performing on stage is it reminds me why I fell in love with theater in the first place. Because it's easy in the day-to-day nitty-gritty to forget why you love something when you're worrying about making all the pieces fit and making all the timings work out and getting the stupid boards cut correctly. It's easy to forget. It's like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
And going on stage, it's like, oh my gosh, yes, this is wonderful. I love this. This is such an extraordinary experience. It's extraordinary stepping into a character's shoes and figuring out what makes them tick and then presenting that character, no matter how wonderful or horrible, to a house. And it also, as an educator, is great because as a director, by the time we have the first rehearsal, I've read the script at least 8 or 9 times. I have really solid ideas of what things are going to look like and how I want them to play out and what things should sound like even. And so we get to off book day, and sometimes as a director, it's easy for my brain to be like, why aren't you off book? It's not that hard. And then when I'm on stage, we get to off book day and I'm like, oh yeah, this is really hard. Like it's difficult having all of the words, and you feel the pressure differently when you're the one in the character's shoes. And so it's great being on the other side and also able to understand and relate to what the directors are walking through. So it lowers I think sometimes as a performer, you can get frustrated with the process because when you're doing cue to cue, it's like, well, why is this taking so long? But as a director, it's like, oh, it's taking this long because 50,000 things are going wrong in this moment that you don't know about because the directors are carrying it on their shoulders and they're taking it home and they're not complaining about it to the cast. But it's great because it ups the level of appreciation and respect that I have for the people backstage, because I know what they're carrying and I know what they're walking through, and I know how much they love the vision they're trying to build. And it inspires me to help deliver their vision because I want them to experience success. I want them to see what their blood, sweat, and tears is creating, and I want to be faithful and true to what they're trying to create because there's value in what they're doing. And I think you see that differently when I'm so often on the other side trying to create the picture, and it's so fulfilling and so rewarding, and it makes you so excited when you see your vision come to life. It's like, man, I want to make that happen. It's also just extremely pure fun.
Exactly.
It's delightful.
Yes. Okay, so you recently, as a program, started competing in one-act competitions.
Yeah.
What was your first one-act that you guys did?
We did How to Succeed in High School Without Really Trying. It was our first time out the gate. I had 17 kids in my drama class, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So let's pick an ensemble piece because I had kids that worked really great together and kids that worked really well under pressure. So I told the kids going in, I was like, let's not go in with an expectation. Like, if we win, that would be awesome. Total Cinderella story. But let's not go in with an expectation that we're going to win first. Let's go in with an attitude that says, let's learn everything we can about how to succeed in one act while really trying.
Or die trying.
But one act or bust. But what was really, really fun about the process is we went down to Leedy, which is 2 hours out. And Misty Goldstein is the drama director out there. And she was and remains the most incredibly generous director. She helped me so much when I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And what do you mean there's spike times? We have a half hour and this is so stressful and the bus broke down. Like, Leedy just did an incredible job with helping figure out this is how it works, and this is what the judging is like, and what else do you need so that you can succeed when you're coming into our school to compete with us. And just really has helped me a ton as a director in terms of one act. Hey, how do you guys choose your pieces? What are you doing in terms of set? How do you make this work well? How do you encourage your kids when they're frustrated and discouraged? What do you do when they're really excited and you need to make sure that their heads stay straight? So she's been an incredible resource, but honestly, I don't think that we would have been able to come up the learning curve so quickly if it wasn't for Misty explaining how the scorecards work. And this is the point system, because the point system is really confusing, and what they're measuring, what they're commenting on isn't always, it's confusing. It's the best we can do, because theater is a confusing world, and it can be really be really difficult. And I don't know how those judges look at all of those shows that range from like the play that goes wrong to the Crucible, and how do you look at those, and with avant-garde shows that are coming, it's just, man, that's an incredible responsibility for the judges' part. But Misty's been huge in helping figure out, oh, these are the things that I need to do. These are all the boxes I need to tick in order for us to succeed. And I don't even know that I've still figured it out. I think I might need another 2 or 3 years to really get it.
So what year
totally
was that
out.
you guys kicked off that your first one act?
That was 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago, because there was a year that we didn't do it. I was writing a thesis. It got very confusing. So we did not do one act.
Understood. So 4 years, 5 years that you've done this, and this year, you guys actually
we did. We made it to state.
Went to state,
and it was so exciting. I don't think I've ever seen my kids so excited than when they found out we were going to state. There were tears. They're theater kids. There were definitely tears.
Absolutely.
It was awesome.
We cry. It's okay. We cry. It's just
awesome.
part of it. This isn't like, a league of their own. There is crying in theater.
There is crying in theater.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was that show that you did?
We did The 146-Point Flame by Matt Thompson. That's embarrassing. And it's a fantastic piece. It's based on a true story. It's based on the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory of 1911 or 1907. I have a really hard time with those two dates.
I have a hard time with numbers, period. So
they're just very mean. But it centers around it's set during the factory fire, and it centers around these 4 specific characters who are basically shifting between present time in the fire and flashbacks to the past.
Oh.
And there are 2, there's one male, but we were able to do 2 that split it and played all of these different male characters. And you wouldn't think it in a show in which everyone on stage is actually dead, but it's a show that actually has a deep level of value and respect for life and hope in the middle of this absolutely horrific, true situation. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory was a real factory. It's one of the primary reasons that smoke detectors are required in every public building now. And it's called the 146-Point Flame because 146 people died in the fire. But it's got a lot of depth and a lot of heart, and I knew that I had these kids that could play these really compelling, beautiful stories and tell them well. And I'm so proud of them, because it's not easy to give high schoolers a script like this and say, tell this story well. And they did it really well. And honestly, they're the same age as some of the people who died in this fire. And I think we do undersell what kids are capable of doing today. And it's a weird balance, because kids are capable of telling stories and dealing with materials and realities that are a lot more than what we think they're capable of. And then on the other side of that coin, it's like you want to protect and preserve the innocence and the simplicity and the beauty of being a kid, because adulthood is coming for us all. And at some point you're going to be doing the laundry. So
it's a racket. Don't do it. Just ignore it. Just keep going. So, yeah, I mean, it's great. I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Just like I've, been on stage with you, I've been on stage with some of your students as well.
They're pretty awesome, aren't they?
There's some
They're just
there's some
great.
great kids, and I thought each one of them that I worked with was top notch. So you're doing a great job with that. So let's talk about the future. What's up next for the Percival players?
Well, in the immediate future, we are putting on Seussical, the musical. It is actually, we're 25 years since Seussical originally went on stage in New York City, which I did not do on purpose, but happens to have worked out particularly well. We've got an absolutely wonderful cast. They are fantastic kids. They're hard workers. We've been hard at work turning the entire world blue, apparently, because that's one of our set colors. And they've just been wonderful. It's kind of the way I've been describing it is the show is a log flume of joy. It's like Les Miserables, but on the polar other end. The whole thing is sung, but it's not a sad one. Yeah. But it's a great show to put on, and it's frankly a really fun show to direct. There's just so many beautiful little moments in the middle of all of the chaos that work really well for talking with the kids about, a person's a person no matter how small. I had a conversation with Horton the other day talking about that concept in terms of the Imago Dei and what that looks like from a Judeo-Christian perspective. Ooh. And it's fun being able to take some of my Christian beliefs or Christian concepts and say, this is not in the script and this is not how the writers intend it, but through this lens, we can also understand it to look like this.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's really fun about theater, I think, is you can take theater is so very adaptable. But yeah, I'm excited for Seussical. I'm also terrified for Seussical.
I tend to hear, I've heard that same sentiment from a lot of different locations that have done that it's a major undertaking.
It is.
And of course, I think every theater that I've seen put that on, I can see why it's a major undertaking, because it's such a big, especially when you do it with the younger cast, you want everybody to be in it.
Yeah.
And there's a spot for everybody.
Yeah.
There's something for everybody to do. And to do that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of patience. And there's not a lot of people that have all of those things rolled together. And so kudos to you for pulling that off. So we talked about that. What's in the future for Angela?
TBD.
Okay.
I think a couple years ago, I turned 40 and I had, as one does, a small identity crisis because, none of my 5-year plans worked out. And I was looking at all of the things I didn't have. And I was like, I don't have this and I don't have this and I don't have this and I don't have this. And then at some point I was talking with God, as I do. And one of those inner nudgings of you're looking back and you're focusing on what you don't have. Look ahead. What are things like, I ask myself the question, in 10 years, looking back, what will I regret not having done? And there were 2 things that came up. One was I've wanted to get a master's degree for a very long time. I've never gotten one. I've tried twice. I tried once at seminary, tried once with history. It was neither of those were good fits. But I was like, I absolutely love theater. And I don't have a professional background in theater. And I'm someone who values academics really well. And I was like, you know what? I would really love to help fill in some of those gaps that exist. And so I started looking into education programs, and I found one, University of Northern Colorado, and they have a hybrid Masters of Theater Education program. So I would be able to continue working full-time, teaching theater, doing what I love, and then doing online courses during the school year and then do summer intensives. And the process of getting that degree gave me two enormous gifts. One was the degree itself, which imposter syndrome, we all know it's a very real thing. And that piece of paper really helped quiet down that imposter syndrome voice of you don't know what you're doing, because I had aggressively pursued for 2.5 years, filling in some of those gaps and some of those blind spots. But the biggest gift that that program gave me was my cohort, because I have now 15 other people from Pennsylvania to California and everywhere in between who are also all theater educators who teach community theaters. They teach in colleges. They teach in elementary schools. They teach choreography. They teach in schools all over the nation. And all of them are really amazing at what they do. And they all have a different perspective than I do. And so we have a text group, and when one of us is really struggling with something, having trouble coming up with a solution, we don't know what to do, we don't know how to handle a situation, we put out a text. And right there, automatically, within a couple hours, everyone has gotten on board and said, oh, this has happened to me before, or this hasn't happened to me before, but here's what I think, here's what I have to offer. And it's kind of this wonderful hive mind where we can all help each other. So looking back 3 years to that identity crisis of, well, I guess I'll get my master's degree, that's been an enormous gift, because not only do I have a lot more confidence in my own abilities, I also have this incredible group of people who have my back, and who sometimes when I'm like, I feel like I'm losing my mind, they're like, oh, you're not losing your mind. It's just tech week. Right?
Yeah, fair. That's fair. Yeah.
And so that was the first thing, was I want to get a master's degree. And the second thing was I want to write a book. And so I have about a year ago, in the middle of writing a thesis, I discovered cozy crime because I wanted something. I was like, I need something that's fun and entertaining and that I don't have to think too hard about. And so I started listening to a bunch of cozy crime mysteries on Audible.
Define cozy crime.
It's basically like Hallmark. Here is the general outline of every cozy crime mystery.
Okay.
You have a woman. She is either recently divorced, recently widowed, or otherwise single, who moves back home to start one of the following: a coffee house, a bakery, or a bookstore.
Yeah, they took the Hallmark outline.
It's the Hallmark outline. But they're marvelous. They're wonderful little stories. There's always, the flame that was disappointed love, who's now usually either the sheriff or a deputy.
Of course.
Right? Along with the new flame, who is either usually some kind of private investigator, or
It always involves law enforcement.
those Leos, they're everywhere in cozy crime. And yeah, they solve mysteries. And
Nice.
for a long time I've wanted to write a book, but I wanted to write a Tolkien or Christie level book.
Okay.
And I was quite certain that I did not have either Tolkien or Christie within me. But I think I've got a pretty solid cozy crime mystery in me. So I'm hammering away at it.
Okay.
And when I'm, during breaks, when I'm not living in, theater world,
Sure.
I'm hammering away at a story. So at some point, if we're very lucky, and if the muse descends, and if we can continue focusing long enough, which my best friend will probably force me to, she's helping me make sure that I actually keep writing. One of her biggest jobs is, Angela, did you write recently? And if I did not, she's like, okay, we need to go get coffee so you can write. So it's a very important and crucial job in this creative process.
I understand completely. Yeah. Okay, so looking forward, you talk about looking forward, for the program here, are there any dream shows or projects that you would love to tackle here on this stage?
Man, that's a trick question, because I think every theater teacher has their laundry list of shows that they would love to do.
You bet.
I would really love to do Anastasia.
Okay.
I would love to do Fiddler on the Roof. For years, I've said I would never do Anastasia because I saw it twice on Broadway, and it was so beautiful. But I'm coming around, and now I'm imagining what I could do with it, and it's very exciting. But Fiddler on the Roof is such an iconic show, and I love that music. I would really love to do King Lear. I think King Lear would be really fun. I don't think that I could do it as originally written because I think that would be a little daunting for my high school students. But you never know. You can't underestimate kids. They'll surprise you.
I've seen some high school kids pull off some Shakespeare that I never thought would happen, and they did it beautifully. And so you never can tell.
Never can tell.
So,
but I am starting the annual script perusal process because choosing a script is hard because you have a limited number of people and you need to make sure that you have roles where your kids' strengths can be highlighted.
Sure.
Right? And you also need to be able to, produce it in the time allotted.
Right.
We did Pride and Prejudice in 5 weeks this year, which is normally what we have about the time frame we have for our plays. And so some of it is, how many boys do I have? That is the consistent.
Absolutely.
That is the consistent problem. And
males in theater. Come on, guys.
It's awesome. The girls are great. And they're not too crazy.
Okay, that's a whole other episode. That's a whole other episode.
Everyone's crazy in theater, people.
That's right.
But it's a fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing. I don't know. It changes every week.
Sure. As does acting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so every one of my episodes, I try to wrap up with what we call our curtain call curveballs.
Ooh, okay.
So I I come up with some off the wall questions. Some of them aren't even don't have anything to do with theater. They're just to kind of rattle your brain since we've been talking theater.
That's fun. Improv. Okay.
So, if your directing style were a flavor of ice cream, what would it be and why?
Probably Rocky Road, because portions of it are very, very smooth. But every once in a while, you run into something a little tough and rocky, and then every once in a while, there's something gooey, and you don't know quite how to get it out of your teeth.
Okay. That's fair. Okay, that works. Okay. What is the most, quote, theater kid thing you've ever done?
Oh, Lord. Oh, my kids should be here and answer that question. I'm sure they've got a laundry list of things.
Oh, I'm sure.
Probably every single day, I dismiss them by saying, "I love you, go away." That seems like very much a theater kid thing to do.
Yeah. A little positivity, a little negativity. You got to balance it.
Away.
Okay, that's fair. If you could bring any fictional character into work with your students, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a hard one. Fictional?
Yeah.
Is there a specific genre?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I can't help you.
I know. It's just I'm going through list. Okay, I gotta be honest. Nope, it can't be her. She'd kill everyone. Queen of Hearts.
Okay.
Yeah, not possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. This one may never have a result. I kind of think, and this is sheerly because I think it'd be hilarious to watch him try to navigate teenagers, Sherlock Holmes. I think it would be absolutely phenomenal to watch him try to communicate with teenagers and get them to do things.
Hey, he came up with the Baker Street Boys, so,
Regulars, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
He paid them to go be nosy.
Well, isn't that what we do with kids anyway?
Pay them to be nosy? They're nosy.
They're nosy anyway. So, yeah, that's good. That's good. Because if you go back through the stories and everything, he never really did present himself as a child, as gravitating towards children.
Mm-mm.
No,
but it would be really funny to watch him try.
Yeah.
That would be purely for my entertainment, though. I don't know that there would be any educational value in that.
Oh, yeah, just for fun. That's cool. Okay, what's one rehearsal moment that made you laugh so hard you had to step out?
Oh, this happens every show. Okay, last year Last year we were doing The Play That Goes Wrong for our upper school play. And I had 2 casts. We double cast it. And we were practicing the scene where all the walls fall down on Chris. And I had 2 Chris's. And the first Chris, the wall starts falling, and we had everything taped out on the floor. So here's where you have to be in order to not get hit by the wall. And she was, I've never seen this girl move faster in her life than when she falls on the ground and the thing starts falling towards her, because once the wall is falling, gravity is going. And I've never seen her move faster to get into that hole. So that went great. The wall fell down. It was wonderful. Well done. Our second Chris gets in place. Our second Chris is quite a deal longer than our first Chris. He just has really long arms and legs. And so he does exactly what the first girl does, but he doesn't get all of his length into the box. And so the wall falls directly on top of him. The wall like falls into like 5 different pieces because we built it. You know, if something's going to break the wall, not the child. And so the wall breaks, and I'm in horror. And I was like, "Are you okay?" And this voice comes out from under the wall. He's like, "Yeah, my life flashed before my eyes." And I started, as soon as I knew he was okay, I started laughing because he like crawls out from under it, and he's got this look, and he's like, "I broke the wall." I was like, I saw that, but thanks for letting me know. And so it was just so funny. I think it was also a fair amount of stress that was that little.
Yeah, it causes a good release.
Have to step out of the room because the tears are coming, and you can't quite bring them back in. So you have to find some place to calm down before you go back out and tell the children that they cannot be crazy.
Excellent. Well, Angela, thank you for being a part of this. We're wrapping this up. I appreciate your time. Wonderful theater, wonderful program. I think you're doing amazing things here. And on behalf of Oklahoma Theater, thank you for being a teacher of the theater arts.
Thank you so much for having me. It's the greatest honor to do what we do.
Love it. I love it. For everybody else listening at home, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us and being a part of our Oklahoma Onstage family. Get out, support local theater. For the kids, Crossings, you guys have a great teacher. You guys got a gem right here. For everybody else, make sure you support high school theater. Make sure you support all your local theater departments. Everybody, the arts needs you now more than ever. So thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the flip side.